is your RTC Weekly Download. Hello and welcome to the RTC Weekly Download. I'm Jim Dolan, your host. Today's program is a special one. It's for the 250th anniversary of the United States of America. And for that reason, we have two episodes of You Are There. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with that show, it was a kind of a history lesson acted out, and it is historically accurate, just as if microphones had existed back in the days of the Revolution of the Constitution. Well, we're going to take you there for precisely that. Our first episode of You Are There will be about the Declaration of Independence. This was from 1948. Here we go.
This is John Daly at the State House in Philadelphia. A powerful opponent of the Declaration of Independence has emerged here on this fourth evening of July 1776. An opponent strong enough to rally the latent opposition to separation from the mother country. Mr. John Dickinson, Pennsylvania's leading delegate to the Continental Congress, has just told reporters that he intends to speak on the floor before the final vote is taken. This in a supreme effort to block this declaration, which would commit our 13 colonies to revolutionary war with England. Mr. Dickinson agreed that he is staking his political future on the outcome of the vote. He anticipates that if he fails to block passage of the Declaration of Independence, he will be ejected from the Congress and be
July 4th, 1776, the State House in Philadelphia. You are there.
John Dickinson, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson. CBS takes you back to the evening when the colonial leaders fought their showdown battle on the issue of independence from England, with the fate of the continent hanging in the balance. All things are as they were then, except for one thing. When CBS is there,
You are there.
You Are There is based on authentic historical fact and quotation. And now,
July 4th, 1776, the Philadelphia State House and John Daly.
Dining during the recess, which is now officially over. We hurried from the inn to this microphone here on the floor of the Congress to bring you this news. Mr. Dickinson has not arrived yet. He should be along at any minute, but meanwhile, the news has preceded him, and it's having an explosive effect on the delegates who are present. As a matter of fact, the weather isn't helping things either. It's very hot here in Philadelphia tonight, and in their heavy waistcoats, ruffles, and wigs, the delegates in the hall are perspiring profusely. Even more irritating are the horse flies from a nearby stable which come in through the open windows. These flies are nasty, so much so that Mr. Thomas Jefferson of Virginia, the author of the Declaration, has said that it is not at all unlikely that this debate will be ended not by sharp logic of the delegates, but by the even sharper bite of the horseflies. Major George Fielding Eliot has been talking to the delegates and is now ready with his analysis of the possibilities inherent in Mr. Dickinson's announcement. So I switch you now to our CBS headquarters booth here in the Congress. Come in, Major Eliot.
Mr. Dickinson's views carry great weight here. His announcement therefore comes as a shock to those delegates who want the Declaration of Independence passed. Mr. John Adams from the Massachusetts Bay Colony, leader of the Independence Party, had hoped the Declaration would go through unanimously, but that's no longer possible. Indeed, the Declaration may not even pass. Mr. Adams and Mr. Dickinson personify the present political conflict. Mr. Adams is the son of a Massachusetts lawyer. He was educated for the law in New England. He agrees with the men who dumped the East India Company's tea into Boston Harbor. Although Mr. Adams prides himself on being a plain man, the delegates regard him as arrogant and intolerant of all who differ with his views. Mr. Dickinson, on the other hand, was born to wealth. He received his education at London's Middle Temple. He has a mild, amiable, sincere manner. He opposes independence because of his conviction that all political injustices can be righted by legal methods without recourse to violence or revolution. Just a moment. John Adams and Thomas Jefferson have entered the hall. So, back to John Daly.
Mr. Jefferson! Mr. Jefferson!
Yes?
Mr. Jefferson, you've heard the news that Mr. Dickinson will speak against independence. May we have your comment?
I have the greatest respect for Mr. Dickinson's courage and integrity, Mr. Adams and I wish we could say as much for his political judgment.
This Congress, sir, is in no mood for any more of Mr. Dickinson's temporizing. In the course of this debate, the delegates have learned to know Mr. Dickinson for what he is. A spineless aristocrat at best, at worst an agent of the enemy.
Well, Mr. Adams, we're very glad to have your comment also. Are you accusing Mr. Dickinson of being in the pay of the British?
I hardly think Mr. Adams
If you
intended
please, Mr.
any...
Jefferson. Sir, Mr. Dickinson has consistently sabotaged the work of this body by fallacious appeals to reason and by parliamentary devices, but no more of that. The Declaration of Independence will be put to a vote as soon as President Hancock arrives and calls this meeting to order. And I am confident that the gentleman will be unable to sway the Congress from the course on which it is now well launched.
Thank you, Mr. Adams and Mr. Jefferson. The delegates are taking their seats. And as you must have gathered from Mr. Adams' remarks, the long smoldering enmity between him and Mr. Dickinson has finally flared out into the open. The debate, when he and Dickinson clash on the floor, promises to be more violent than any this Congress has heard in the 2 years since it's been in existence. Mr. Dickinson has just entered the hall, and he has to pass our microphone. He's coming this way now. Mr. Dickinson, sir.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Dickinson. Mr. John Adams has just called you an agent of the enemy, Mr. Dickinson. Would you care to
Mr.
make...
Adams considers anyone who differs with him to be an agent of the enemy. But I cannot allow myself to be silenced by insults. The question is, shall our colonies declare themselves independent of the mother country? And on this question, my opponents have been utterly dishonest.
Will you explain that, Mr. Dickinson?
Certainly will. 11 times in the past 2 years, Congress pledged itself not to seek independence. In January of this year, only 6 months ago, the Congress passed a most solemn declaration to the effect that we Americans have no thought of setting up an independent nation. And now, tonight, Mr. Adams asks us to break our pledged word. Nay, he demands it.
But if the people favor independence, Mr. Dickinson,
Mr. Adams has confused the people. He has engineered coups d'etats in the provincial legislatures in order to pack this Congress with delegates favoring independence. He has organized gangs of hoodlums to roam the streets of the cities and towns, attacking those who oppose revolution.
But isn't it true, Mr. Dickinson, that at least 50% of the population favors independence?
Is it right for one half of the population to impose its views on the other half by terror? Can these colonies hope to achieve victory in a revolutionary war when half of the people oppose it? I predict that if the Congress passes the Declaration of Independence, the result will be civil war, useless bloodshed, and ruinous defeat. True. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Dickinson. The delegate from Pennsylvania is walking to his seat now. Mr. John Hancock, the president of the Congress, has entered the chamber, but it will very probably be a few moments yet before he calls the Congress to order. Mr. Dickinson said that a considerable portion of the people are opposed to independence. Well, Ken Roberts is outside the State House, where a representative crowd of Philadelphians are awaiting the result of the vote. So let's find out what they think about independence. Go ahead, Ken Roberts.
With me at our CBS microphone is Mrs. Agnes Hatcher, who lives on Water Street. Mrs. Hatcher, do you favor separation from England?
I hate separation. My husband was killed fighting for separation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's John Adams that should be sorry, and Mr. Jefferson. Why don't they make peace and end this killing?
But, Mrs. Hatcher, would you want peace at any price?
Will you tell me why my husband should die at Boston fighting the Bay Colonies battles? If the men of New England have a quarrel with the British, let them do the fighting and dying themselves.
But Mr. Adams and Mr. Jefferson say they want freedom for all the colonies.
I don't care about freedom. My husband is dead.
Thank you, Mrs. Hatcher. Now, here beside me is Mr. Richard Caswell, an importer in Philadelphia. I forgot to ask you, Mr. Caswell, what do you import?
The finest of English woolens, sir. The very finest.
I see. And do you favor independence? Excuse me, Mr. Caswell. A dispatch rider has just ridden up to the State House. His horse is lathered and covered with dust and sweat. It looks as if he's been ridden long and hard. Where are you from, soldier?
New York. General Washington's headquarters.
What's the news there? What's happening?
Plenty of excitement.
Wait a minute. What's going on? The rider has gone into the State House. Whatever the news is, our reporters inside will bring it to you as soon as it's released. I'm sorry about that interruption, Mr. Caswell.
Quite all right, quite all right.
You were about to tell me whether you favored independence.
It's an illusion, sir. Independence from what? How can we be independent? We're Englishmen, my family's English, they're all in England. Or my trade, my business is with England. Look at my books, you see. This talk about separation is ridiculous. Worse than ridiculous. It's vicious. It's ruining me. Ever since this war started, no shipments. Percentages, 76% less business than my firm did in 75.
But, Mr. Caswell, isn't it argued that if the colonies were independent, American businessmen could then trade with the entire world?
Who wants to trade with the entire world? What do we need the world for? Everything we can produce, we can sell in England. And everything that we need, we can buy from England. It's just common sense, that's all. How do you suppose the colonies have grown prosperous and strong and important? Protected trade with England. Protected trade.
Yes, but what about the heavy taxes that the mother country has imposed? What about taxation without representation?
Bad, very bad. But independence? Worse, much worse. Terrible. What about Pitt and Burke in Parliament? We have friends in England. They're trying to settle this thing intelligently, without violence, without bloodshed. But Mr. Adams and Jefferson, those wild men in there, hotheads, radicals, that's what they are. They want to get power, that's all, power. That's all they're interested in, power.
But, Mr. Caswell, independence is something...
Independence, the worst second. Listen to him. We've already become independent of principle and gratitude to the mother country.
What's he saying?
And if this war is permitted to continue, we shall become independent of cash, clothing, laws, and liberty, and... Yes, life itself. What are you talking about? You're a liar, that's what you are, mister. You're a Tory. A Tory, too. It may not be popular, but it's the truth.
Shut up, you Tory, or we'll teach you a lesson.
I'm not afraid of you. Listen, close your mouth.
Mr. Caswell has just been struck by some men who've been heckling him. The crowd here is manhandling Mr. Caswell. The men are flailing at him with their fists. They must be members of the Sons of Liberty. The women are tearing at Mr. Caswell's clothes and spitting at him. This crowd is going wild and it's frightening. Mr. Caswell has been knocked to the ground. I can't see him, but I can hear his cries. The men are bending over him, swinging their fists, pounding.
This is John Daly inside the Continental Congress. We have interrupted Ken Roberts because President Hancock has just called the Congress to order. He's about to read the dispatch which has just arrived from General Washington's headquarters in New York. President Hancock.
This is the information contained in General Washington's dispatch. The news is grim indeed. A great British fleet is at this moment in New York Harbor. British Marines have seized Staten Island in the harbor, and redcoats are landing there by the thousands. General Washington advises that a British attack on New York City must be expected momentarily. The enemy appears to have overwhelming superiority in numbers and equipment. General Washington concludes with a statement that it may be impossible to defend New York City with the slender forces at his command. Gentlemen, the Congress will recess for 5 minutes.
Congress has again recessed. The sound of President Hancock's gavel has released a torrent of excitement and confusion bordering virtually on panic. Delegates have risen from their seats. They are moving about the floor, talking to each other in loud voices, often shouting in their arguments. Mr. John Adams and Mr. Thomas Jefferson have rushed up to the chair. Mr. Adams is pale, agitated. Only Mr. Dickinson, of all the delegates here in the chamber, has remained seated. Mr. Rutledge. Just a moment, sir. Here's Mr. Edward Rutledge, a delegate from South Carolina. Sir, what effect do you think the news of the British arrival will have on the independence vote?
It cannot fail to have a profound effect. It will add force and logic to Mr. Dickinson's position.
Thank you, Mr. Rutledge. Mr. Rutledge is one of Mr. Dickinson's supporters. Here is Mr. Elbridge Gerry, a delegate from the Massachusetts Bay Colony and an independence man. Mr. Gerry, what do you think of the announcement, sir?
Frankly, I don't know what to think. Mr. Dickinson may well argue now that the Declaration of Independence may not be worth the paper it's written on. But we must keep our head. We must...
Thank you, Mr. Gerry. Major Elliott has more news from New York, so let's switch to him in our CBS headquarters booth. Come in, Major Elliott.
We now know that the British fleet numbers 130 vessels. The troops on board are commanded by General Sir William Howe, one of England's ablest generals. The appearance of the fleet has thrown New York into disorderly confusion, and the legislature has withdrawn for safety to White Plains, 35 miles away. Our New York newsroom informs us that a short while ago, CBS correspondent Ned Kelmer passed through the British lines on Staten Island under safe conduct to interview the British Commander-in-Chief. He made a tape recording of this interview that our New York newsroom will play for you now.
This is the kitchen of a Staten Island farmhouse which now serves as General Howe's headquarters. A regiment of redcoats is on parade outside, marching to the music of a British military band. I can see them through an open window from where I'm standing. In their tight-fitting scarlet coats and long gaiters, these trim soldiers in perfect step to the music look like the veteran fighting men that they are. General Howe, sir, will you tell us how many such troops you have at your disposal?
14,000 on this island, and an additional 13,000 under General Carleton on their way across Lake Champlain in upper New York.
You don't mind giving General Washington this information?
Not at all, not at all. Frankly, I doubt very much that it will make any difference if Washington knows it.
I take it then, General Howe, that you're completely confident of victory.
Naturally. Those men you see out there, they are the conquerors of France and Spain. They are the finest troops in the world. They'll crush Washington's colonial militiamen at the very first encounter, utterly. But Washington, poor fellow, he's leading nothing but a rabble. They lack powder, guns. His officers are without experience. Washington himself is hardly what you might call, shall we say, a professional military man.
General Washington, sir, made quite a good showing in the war against the French.
Under English commanders, Mr. Calmer.
Chalmer.
Under English commanders. Mr. Calmer?
Chalmer. General Howe, you know, of course, that the Continental Congress is about to vote on independence from England. Would you care to comment on that, sir?
Yes, I would like to say something to that. I would like to say it as a friend and not as a soldier. I repeat, as a friend, because I think I have amply demonstrated my friendship for British America in the past, by word and deed.
Yes, if I recall correctly, General Howe, you once stated publicly that you would never lead British troops against British America.
Of course, but the situation has changed. The colonies are now being led by a pack of extremists. This rebellion by the mob must be crushed, and I have the forces with which to crush it. The greatest fleet and the most powerful force of soldiers ever assembled on American soil. I hope with all my heart that it will not be necessary to throw this array of military power into action. I pray that the counsel of the extremists will be rejected by the Continental Congress and that the advice of saner, more moderate men will prevail.
Thank you, General Howe.
This is George Fielding Eliot in Philadelphia. The interview you have just heard was a tape recording made by Ned Chalmer at British headquarters on Staten Island. The recess here in the Continental Congress continues. The delegates are confused, shaken. Mr. Adams, Mr. Jefferson, and Mr. Benjamin Franklin, the leaders of the Independent Party, are doing all they can to counteract the doubt and hesitation inspired by the news from New York. They are trying desperately to maintain their strength, to keep their pledged votes in line, and they are insisting that the final vote be taken tonight without regard for the situation in New York. On the other hand, a group of less militant delegates is urging postponement until we have more definite information from General Washington's headquarters. The Commander-in-Chief said in his dispatch that he fears that he may not be able to hold New York. The cautious delegates want to know for sure whether he will fight or surrender the city without a struggle. Our CBS correspondent, Bud Collier, is now at General Washington's headquarters. He may have some last-minute information. Therefore, we take you now to General Washington's headquarters in New York. Bud Collier reporting.
I'm waiting here on the parade ground before General Washington's headquarters. The Commander-in-Chief has promised to answer my question as soon as he comes out to address his troops, presumably to make some formal statement about the news of the British arrival. The bugles are blowing assembly. The men of the regiments are running to join their formations. I can see the flag of the 1st Massachusetts, I believe it is, the Virginia Rifles, the 5th Connecticut, and many others. But in all this mass of thousands of men, I see very few men in uniform. Most of the troops are dressed in civilian homespun, and quite a few of them wear the fringed leather shirts which mark them as frontiersmen. General Washington has still not come out on the parade ground. Oh, here's a militiaman coming by. Soldier! Soldier!
Let me go. I got pulled.
Oh, just a few questions. You got plenty of time. What's your name, son?
Tom Summers. Look, let me go, will you, mister? The sergeant will give me all...
That's all right. I'll fix it with General Washington for you. How old are you, Tom?
17.
Uh-huh. Ever seen any action against the British?
No, not yet.
Well, you'll probably see action soon right here in New York.
Well, I ain't afraid if that's what you mean.
How long have you been in the Army, Tom?
2 months. Look, please, mister, ask me all your questions at once.
All right, Tom, sure. How long are you in for?
Well, I'm going back home next month. That's when my 3 months are up.
Oh?
My pa enlisted me. He wanted to make himself $10.
I see.
Well, he got his $10, and I'm going home next month.
Uh-huh.
Oh, there ain't nothing wrong with that, you know.
No.
Some fellas enlisted for the money and then deserted without even serving their 3 months.
Well, yes, but what about independence, Tom? How do you feel about independence?
Well, I don't know nothing about that, honest, mister. Oh, there's the general. I gotta go.
General Washington is approaching the microphone. Wears his full dress uniform. His sword flaps against the side of his leg as he walks. General Washington, are you going to fight for New York?
It is a difficult question. Frankly, I haven't made up my mind.
If you elect to fight, General Washington, do you think you will be able to defend New York successfully?
I will do my best, and God willing, we shall be successful. In any event, I would like to say to all the people, do not yield to panic.
But, General, in view of the current situation, do you think the Declaration of Independence should be passed at this time?
That must be decided by the Congress in Philadelphia.
Thank you, General Washington. Commander-in-Chief is walking away across the field now, his shoulders slightly bent, his jaw thrust forward in the manner of a man who bears an enormous responsibility for which he is ill-prepared. This is Bud Collyer in New York. I return you now to the Continental Congress in Philadelphia.
This is John Daly at the Continental Congress in Philadelphia. This is the long-awaited climax of the debate on the Declaration of Independence. The Congress has reconvened, and because Mr. Dickinson asked to speak against the Declaration, Mr. Adams has also requested the floor. By agreement, the vote will take place when the two speakers have finished. Also, by agreement, before the session began, Mr. Adams is speaking first. He's exerting his utmost efforts to keep the votes pledged to independence from bolting to Mr. Dickinson. Will he succeed? Well, we'll only know when the vote is taken. And now let's listen to Mr. Adams.
By proclaiming a Declaration of Independence, gentlemen, this Congress will be giving official recognition to a fact which already exists, namely, that these colonies are actually, in fact, independent of England. Yet, some great brains counsel us to wait, to exercise caution. Do these cautious gentlemen plead for a postponement of a Declaration of Independence so that their Tory friends may have time to hatch plots and conspiracies against us? Gentlemen, to delay is to play into the hands of the enemy, defeating the cause for which so much blood has already been shed. There must be no further delay. The people are ready. The people wait for the Congress to lead them. The hour has struck. The Congress must proceed now to a vote, an affirmative vote, on the Declaration of Independence.
Mr. Adams has left the rostrum. Mr. Dickinson is coming up to speak. Dickinson's face is pale. His fists are clenched. He's clearly marshaling all of his strength for a supreme effort of oratory. He's waiting now for the Congress to come to order. Mr. Dickinson.
Mr. President, I accuse my opponents of cynicism. They cannot believe that these colonies will be able to endure as independent states. Their true goal is not independence. They exploit indignation against the mother country to further their own personal fortune. Mr. President, my opponents make their appeal to the emotions. I make my appeal to intelligence and logic. Mr. President, British troops are on Staten Island in overwhelming force. They are about to attack New York. General Washington's task will be difficult at best, but a declaration of independence now will serve only to divide the people of New York and make the defense of that city hopeless. Pass the declaration and you will set brother against brother, father against son. The colonies will become not only the scene of warfare with the mother country, but civil war as well. And in the bloody, senseless, fratricidal struggle, there is no possibility of success. Proclaim independence this evening, gentlemen, and you gain nothing. You merely invite the whirlwind of destruction. I urge you to vote against it. I beg, I plead, I beseech you, vote against independence.
Mr. Dickinson's plea has been received without applause. The delegates are calling the question, and there seems to be no objection. Oh, but wait a minute. Several of the delegates have risen. However, they're not going to ask for the floor. These delegates are leaving the hall. 4, 5, there go 3 more. Others are leaving also, and I can recognize some of them as men who have been openly undecided. Apparently, they're unwilling to vote, caught on the horns of a dilemma, swayed, no doubt, both by Mr. Adams and Mr. Dickinson. This is a great, a fearful moment of decision. Some of these men are apparently not capable of facing up to it. President Hancock.
Embodying the Declaration of Independence. The vote will be by colonies, each colony voting as a unit. A majority will decide. The clerk will call the roll.
12 votes will be cast. New York has decided to abstain, thus 7 votes will carry the issue.
New Hampshire, Mr. Josiah Bartlett.
New Hampshire votes unanimously for independence.
Massachusetts, Mr. John Adams.
The Patriots of Massachusetts vote unanimously for independence.
Rhode Island, Mr. William Ellery.
Independence.
Connecticut, Mr. Roger Sherman.
Independence, unanimous.
New Jersey, the Reverend Dr. Witherspoon.
Mr. President, in my judgment, the country is not only ripe for independence, but is in danger of becoming rotten for want of it. New Jersey votes unanimously for independence.
Pennsylvania, Mr. Benjamin Franklin.
The majority of the delegation from Pennsylvania votes for separation from England, so help us God.
Delaware, Mr. Caesar Rodney.
Delaware votes unanimously for independence.
The Declaration of Independence is passed. Delaware has cast the deciding vote. There's no reaction from the delegates, and the voting continues. It will very probably be unanimous by colonies. Many of the individual delegates are shaking their heads. However, no matter what may be said against the Declaration, this document is impressive. It reads well. It begins, when in the course of human events change is necessary, and then continues, and I quote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness."
July 4th,
these rights,
1776. John Dickinson loses his fight to block the Declaration of Independence, and the 13 colonies go forward to establish the United States of America.
I hope you enjoyed that. For our second presentation, it's the You Are There episode of the ratification of the U.S. Constitution, also from 1948.
This is John Daly at Convention Hall, Richmond, Virginia. On this 25th day of June, 1788, the Virginia Ratifying Convention has been taken completely by surprise. Mr. Edmund Randolph, present governor of Virginia, has come out publicly in favor of the proposed federal constitution for the United States of America. As a delegate to this crucial convention, and up to now an avowed enemy of the Constitution, Governor Randolph has been a leader in the campaign against ratification. But he has just told reporters that he will speak and vote for ratification when the convention reconvenes to vote a few minutes from now. Thus, the Constitution, which would unite the 13 American states under a strong central government, has found a powerful friend in an unexpected quarter.
June 25th, 1788, the Convention Hall, Richmond, Virginia. You are there.
Virginia, key state in the plan to form the 13 original states into a united America, stands undecided, torn by dissension, and the Constitution hangs in the balance. CBS takes you back 160 years to the day that determined whether Americans could go forward from revolution and establish a stable central government. All things are as they were then, except for one thing. When CBS is there, you are there. You Are There, produced and directed by Robert Louis Cheon, is based on authentic historical facts and quotations. And now,
Virginia, the Richmond Convention Hall, and John Daly.
For a group of reporters hurriedly summoned to the governor's executive chamber a few minutes ago. Asked why he is turning from the party of Patrick Henry to the party of James Madison, Governor Randolph would not amplify his statement, saying only that he will give the reasons which prompted his move on the floor of the convention. And we hurried from that news conference to this microphone here on the convention floor to bring you this news. There's Mr. James Monroe, one of Mr. Patrick Henry's chief lieutenants, in the fight against ratification. Mr. Monroe? Sir? Sir, are you aware that Governor Randolph has gone over to the Federalist Party?
I am indeed.
Would you care to comment on it, Mr. Monroe?
Any remarks on Governor Randolph's strange conduct will come from Mr. Henry, the leader of our party.
But how do you think Governor Randolph's action will affect the vote on ratification, sir?
No comment, sir. No comment.
Mr. Monroe has turned away from the microphone. Our brief conversation, a mark of the confusion Governor Randolph's change of mind has produced here. Ned Kelmer has been analyzing the possibilities inherent in Governor Randolph's action and is ready now with his report. So over to our CBS headquarters booth here in Convention Hall and Ned Kelmer.
Governor Randolph's sudden allegiance to the Federalists may have a decisive effect on this convention. Roughly half of the delegates represent the cities, towns, and the Tidewater planters, and the other half come from the rural districts. Generally speaking, the planters and the businessmen are in favor of a national constitution. They are haunted by memories of Daniel Shays' rebellion in Massachusetts last year, and they want the Constitution as an instrument to end social chaos. On the other hand, the rural delegates, by and large, oppose the Constitution. At present, they're paying their debts with cheap state paper money, and they fear that national currency reforms would work to their disadvantage. But Governor Randolph has much influence and prestige among the country delegates. His change of position may very well swing the necessary votes from among them to carry the ratification. Thus, what happens here in Virginia today may decide the destiny of America. As you know, 9 states must ratify the proposed Constitution if it's to supplant the Articles of Confederation. 8 states have already ratified, and 4 others probably will not. If Virginia fails to ratify, the Constitution is likely to be doomed. And in that case, just a moment, Governor Randolph, at his executive mansion, has consented to grant our reporter, Don Hollenbeck, a brief interview before departing for this convention hall. So over to Don Hollenbeck at the governor's mansion.
Governor Randolph, sir, will you tell us why you've made this last-minute turn from the anti-Constitution party to the Federalists?
I have joined the Federalists because the anti-Constitution party has caused far too much delay on the pressing issue of a strong central government.
Why do you feel that we need a strong central government such as the proposed Constitution outlines?
It is imperative. The union of the states sags apart for want of it. Mr. Henry fails to see the danger. He occupies himself with legalistic assaults on various phases of the Constitution without realizing that the measure as a whole is desperately needed.
Well, Governor, do you endorse the proposed Constitution in toto without amendments?
No, I do not. I hope and trust that certain amendments will subsequently be adopted, such as a Bill of Rights and a clause absolutely forbidding the importation of Negro slaves. But all that can come later. Time is running out, and we cannot go on under the Articles of Confederation.
Thank you, Governor Randolph. This is Don Hollenbeck returning you now to John Daly on the floor of Convention Hall.
About 80 delegates are here now, and among them is Mr. Patrick Henry, former governor of Virginia, leader of the anti-Constitution party. He's wearing the ill-fitting wig and shabby black coat for which he is famous, and his hawk-like face is grim and forbidding. Mr. Henry! Sir, would you care to comment on Governor Randolph's repudiation of the anti-Constitution party?
Governor Randolph, bah! My opponents are welcome to him. He, like they, has turned his back on the revolution. He's divorced himself from the common people and embraced that hydra-headed monster property.
Well, do you mean to suggest, sir, that the Constitution favors the property-holding classes of the nation?
Yes. May I charge you? The worship of private property is implicit in every article of that infamous document. 1 year ago, sir, at Philadelphia, the Constitution stank so noisomely that Governor Randolph refused to sign it. Does it smell any sweeter now? No. The Constitution remains unchanged. It is Edmund Randolph who has changed. Randolph. An empty sail billowing with the wind from the tidewater.
Are you implying, Mr. Henry, that Governor Randolph has yielded to pressure from the Tidewater plantation?
No. Randolph was born with a golden spoon in his mouth. He is rich. He has many slaves. He is also a politician, and as such, he flirted briefly with the ideas of liberty and equality. But the governor has seen the light. Property is the thing that counts.
Well, wouldn't you say, sir, that the protection of private property is important for the welfare of the country?
Important, yes. But human rights are equally important. And where, I ask you, where do you find one single mention of human rights in this Constitution that we are asked to ratify today?
But if that is so, Mr. Henry, how do you explain that 8 states have already ratified the Constitution?
Citizens of those 8 states would bargain away their heritage of freedom for a mess of pot. For my part, give me liberty, greatest of all earthly blessings. Give me that precious jewel, and you may take everything else.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. Here comes Mr. Madison. He's a small man and quiet of voice, but Mr. Madison yields to no man in intellectual capacity. Indeed, he is as famous for the logic of his arguments as Mr. Patrick Henry is for the brilliance of his oratory. Mr. Madison! Mr. Madison, Mr. Henry has just charged that the Constitution places property rights above human rights.
An interesting phrase. But then Patrick Henry is a master of interesting phrases. One of them helped to start our revolution. The trouble is, Mr. Henry is in a constant state of revolution. He should remember that the war is over, and that his antagonists in this hall are not redcoats.
Yes, Mr. Madison, but what about his argument, sir?
Ah, yes. Property rights above human rights. Well, now, suppose we examine that without the benefit of oratory, shall we? Mr. Henry would give you the impression that this is a struggle between the rich and the poor, the strong and the weak. The fact is, sir, that there are wealthy men who hate the Constitution and poor men who love it. The point is that all Americans, rich and poor, are in dire straits today because we have no strong central government. Mr. Henry poses as the shining knight of liberty. But where, sir, is liberty without order? Order is what we need, not at the expense of human rights, but precisely to render them secure.
Well, Mr. Madison, it's been reported that Mr. Thomas Jefferson, our ambassador to France, is against the Constitution.
That, sir, is a distortion. Mr. Jefferson is a friend of mine. I'm in constant correspondence with him. It is true that he disagrees with some aspects of the Constitution, but on the whole, he favors it. As a matter of fact, it would be well for Mr. Henry to remember there are other patriots of the war for independence who stand behind the Constitution. Not only Thomas Jefferson, but General Washington, Benjamin Franklin, Alexander Hamilton, John Dickinson, and a host of others.
Thank you, Mr. Madison.
A pleasure, sir.
Well, you've heard that the Constitution would be of great benefit to all Americans, and you've also heard that it will benefit only the rich. Outside this Virginia hall, there's a representative crowd waiting for the result of the vote, and Ken Roberts is out there. So let's switch to him and find out how these people feel about the Constitution. Go ahead, Ken Roberts.
In this crowd, judging by their dress, are people from every section and class of Virginia. I see men who are obviously planters, others who must be tradesmen, and a large number of farming folk. Some of them must have come a long way to be in Richmond at this fateful hour. Here, for instance, is a tall man wearing a fringed shirt and a coonskin cap. Where are you from, sir?
I be from Pineville, in the Western District.
You're a delegate, sir?
Nay. I come here to watch all the delegates.
Oh?
I want to be sure they vote the way they're supposed to.
And how are the delegates at the Western District supposed to vote, Mr.
Holloway, Thomas Holloway, and they're still supposed to vote against the Constitution when Governor Randolph will be paying for turning his coat on us come next election.
Would you mind telling us why you're against the Constitution, Mr. Holloway?
See this bullet wound in my left arm? I received it 10 years ago, come September. I received it fighting to free Virginia from the rule of King George.
Don't you mean that you were fighting to free the United States?
Nay, to free Virginia.
But aren't you a citizen of the United States?
Nay, I'm a citizen of Virginia. We fought to be rid of the third George, and we want no fourth to take his place.
Then you think the Constitution would result in a king being imposed on the American states?
Aye.
What makes you think so?
If there be a Constitution, there'll be a president. If there be a president, he'll waste no time making himself into a monarch.
But, Mr. Holloway, it's generally agreed that if the Constitution is ratified, the first president of the United States will be General George Washington.
Aye. He'll waste no time making himself into a monarch.
You think that General Washington, if elected, will establish a monarchy?
Aye. There'll be nothing in the Constitution to stop him if he's a mind to. And I reckon he'll have a mind to. Power would be spoiling a man, say I. There's always
that's a ridiculous statement. It's evil and it's
Mr. Holloway has just been interrupted by a well-dressed man in the crowd.
Trapped in the jail for talking that way about General Washington.
Would you have the mind to be crying at me, fine
You're besmirching the reputation of the best man in the world.
Gentlemen, just a moment. Sir, we'll be glad to have your opinions on General Washington and the Constitution after Mr. Holloway has
for himself. I have no
Now, Mr.
opinion.
Mr. Holloway, you were just saying General Washington will make himself king if the Constitution is ratified.
Aye, and he could do it. According to the Constitution, the President would have his own standing army.
Yes, but wouldn't the army be subject to the decisions of the Federal Congress?
With a gun at its throat, what could the Congress do? He'll be making himself monarch, Congress or no.
Thank you, Mr. Holloway. Now, sir, now you have your opportunity.
You tell you now, he's an empty head.
Empty head. I would tell you, see, abuse, canard, that's the way with you rascals. You impute the most dastardly motives to the patriots who frame the Constitution. You don't want the truth.
Don't want the truth.
You're a riffraff, troublemaker, that's all you are. Scum of the backwoods.
See, holding your tongue now, you value that empty head.
Please, gentlemen, we were discussing something else. Let's get back to the Constitution.
Yes, the Constitution. I predict, sir, that unless the Constitution is ratified, the merchants of this country will be ruined, wiped out utterly.
Are you a merchant, sir?
Yes, sir, I am.
I wouldn't call him that.
I am a merchant, sir. I trade in tobacco, fine Virginia leaf, sir. Ask anyone in Richmond, you'll find that Ralph Barker handles only the best.
And you feel that the Constitution, if ratified, would be a boon to business?
Absolutely, sir. Business is bad today. Oh, bad, very bad. And my warehouse is bursting with unsold tobacco. The country is in a depression. And it's because of the money situation. It's scandalous. Absolutely.
Would you explain that, please, Mr. Barker?
Yes, you explain.
I will if you would only give me a chance. My word, there are so many different kinds of money in circulation. It drives a man insane. Doubloons, pistoles, gold Johannes's, English, French crowns, English guineas, Spanish dollars. Yes, and to cap it all, the states are issuing money that isn't worth the paper it's printed on. Now, how on earth can a merchant do business under such conditions?
It must be difficult.
Difficult? Why, it's impossible. It's confusion compounded into an unholy mess.
And you feel that the Constitution, if ratified, would restore order in interstate commerce and regulate the currency?
Yes, sir, I do. Of course I do. The Constitution specifically...
This is John Daly in Convention Hall. We have interrupted Ken Roberts because Governor Randolph has just come in. He entered by a side door to avoid the crowd outside. Now he is walking down the aisle, and the tension here is so thick one can literally feel it. Mr. Henry has just snubbed Governor Randolph, and the snub was unmistakable. His face pale, the governor has walked to his seat, sits down, shakes hands with Mr. Madison. Now the gavel sounds. Mr. Pendleton, president of the convention, is calling the delegates to order. The final debate will begin in a few moments. As you know, the resolution embodying the Constitution has already been debated clause by clause in the 3 weeks this convention has been in session. And now, Mr. Pendleton.
The ratifying convention is hereby declared to be officially convened. By previous agreement, the final speech in opposition to ratification will be made by Mr. Patrick Henry. And he will be followed by Mr. James Madison, who will speak in favor of ratification of the proposed federal constitution. I now recognize the first speaker, Mr. Henry.
And Patrick Henry rises, walking slowly up the aisle. He's moving toward the front of the hall. Now he's mounting the rostrum. His hawk-like eyes under that ragged wig look out piercingly around the room. And they have come to rest on Governor Randolph. Mr. Henry stares at the governor now with an expression of, well, you might almost call it contempt. And now Mr. Henry's about to speak.
My concluding remarks in behalf of the Anti-Constitution Party, the Party of Liberty, will be brief. But I would first make a few observations on the conduct of one of the delegates. I am referring to none other than Governor Edmund Randolph. Last year in Philadelphia, Governor Randolph denounced the Constitution. It seems to me very strange that which was then the subject of his denunciation should today become the object of his praise. Something extraordinary must have happened to operate so great a change in his opinion. Mr. President! Mr. President!
Governor Randolph is calling for the floor. He's been ruled out of order. Now, Mr. Henry.
I yield to the member. Let us hear what the honorable member has to say.
The honorable speaker hints that I have changed my opinions for some hidden and therefore discreditable reason.
I have no personal intention of offending anyone. I merely do my duty.
The gentleman smiles when he says that. His conduct is malicious, and it is not compatible with the least shadow of friendship. Very well. If our friendship must fall, let it fall like Lucifer, never to rise again.
Does the member accuse me of malicious behavior?
I believe the meaning of my words is clear.
Is the member prepared to back up his remarks with deeds?
If the gentleman seeks satisfaction, he will find my second place.
I thank the gentleman for his willingness to render satisfaction. Mr. President, I request a short recess in order to arrange the details of a matter of honor.
This is unprecedented. However, due to the member's request is granted, I hereby declare a 5-minute recess.
Mr. Randolph and Mr. Henry are leaving the hall, no doubt to choose and confer with their seconds as is traditional in these affairs of honor among gentlemen. This is a startling turn of events, and we'll try and bring you the developments just as fast as we can. The floor here is a scene of confusion. The delegates are milling about, shouting and arguing, shaking their fists at each other, and from the look of things here, it would almost seem that there will be more affairs of honor out there on the floor of this convention hall unless this convention is called back into order, and very soon. And there's Mr. Pendleton. Mr. Pendleton, sir. Will the session resume in spite of this conflict between Mr. Henry and Mr. Randolph?
Yes, I will reconvene in 5 minutes.
And the vote will be taken as scheduled, sir? Do you have anything to say on that?
No, not now, please.
All right, thank you, Mr. Pendleton. The debate will continue. The vote will be taken despite this dramatic interruption. As you know, Mr. Henry is one of the principal speakers, and he must be back before the convention can properly be reconvened. As I said before, the floor is a scene of confusion, and there is a chance there will be more of these affairs of honor unless the convention is indeed called back into session, and very soon. But now I've seen Ned Kelmer out there circulating quickly among the delegates to learn how Mr. Henry's attack on Governor Randolph will affect the vote. So let's go over to our CBS headquarters booth and Ned Kelmer.
Thanks. Well, on the basis of my brief conversations with the delegates just now, it's safe to say that Mr. Henry, by his open attack on Mr. Randolph, has restored the situation to what it was before the governor came out in favor of the Constitution. Yes, I'd say there's no doubt about that. The delegates from the rural districts admire forceful speech and prompt action. They saw it today, and no matter what outsiders may think of Mr. Henry's conduct, well, his action sits well with the country people. These rural delegates who might have been shaken by Governor Randolph's new allegiance to the Federalists now seem to be back in the anti-Constitution fold, definitely. And it does look as if the Constitution may fail of ratification. And now Mr. Pendleton has called the convention to order again, so back to John Daly on the convention floor.
The Republic itself.
The delegates are again seated. The convention has reconvened, and Mr. Henry has resumed the floor and is speaking on the resolution embodying the proposed federal constitution of the United States of America. Now let's listen to Mr. Patrick Henry.
Exclusion of the 4 remaining states. Congress, under this proposed Constitution, would have a tyrant's power and more. It could lay whatever taxes it chooses. With a standing army, it could keep the people in submission. The President, if he should be ruthless and able, could make himself an absolute ruler. I would rather have a king, lords, and a House of Commons than a government replete with such insupportable evil. Gentlemen, my opponents ask you to surrender not only the sword and the purse, but the very scales of justice. Ratify this Constitution, and you place our state courts at the mercy of federal courts. A monstrous creation. I dread popular resistance to this proposed government. So vague, so indefinite, so ambiguous in its assurances of liberty and human rights. Let me warn you in the most emphatic terms of the dreadful effects which must ensue should the people resist. I beg, I beseech the delegates to search their consciences and vote nay on this resolution, lest they rouse the people to rebellion in defense of their God-given liberties.
Mr. Henry has left the rostrum, and Mr. Madison is coming up now to speak. He carries his hat in his hand. Now he's taking some slips of paper out of the hat. They are the notes for his address, and he's waiting for the convention to come to order.
Order. The chair recognizes Mr. James Madison.
Mr. President, fellow delegates, I yield to no man in my respect for the previous speaker. Yet in these brief concluding remarks, I would point out that his objections to the Constitution arise out of misunderstanding. This is not strange because the form of government we are proposing is new, unique in the history of the world. Let the delegates, therefore, not measure it by outmoded standards. Mr. President, the American states have stirred the admiration of the world by setting up free governments under the pressure of war. How much more will they win admiration if they should be able peaceably to establish one central government when not cemented by common danger? But will the states achieve that goal? Suppose only 8 states ratify and Virginia refuses to become the 9th except on her own terms. Then even if the others agree to our terms, which is doubtful, every state must call new conventions to consider the amendments. There will be endless disagreements. Every state will be encouraged to offer its own amendment. Agreement will be even more difficult to reach than it was in Philadelphia. In short, Mr. President, if Virginia holds out today, the United States may never have a functioning central government. But if Virginia ratifies the Constitution, it may bring the most fortunate event in the history of mankind. I therefore respectfully submit that the honorable delegates vote yea on the resolution before us, the resolution containing the Constitution of the United States of America.
Mr. Madison replaces his notes in his hat and leaves the rostrum, and from the floor, many voices calling the question. Mr. Pendleton is raising his gavel.
The convention will now vote on the resolution embodying the proposed Constitution for the United States of America. The vote will be by a show of hands. A simple majority will decide. Those delegates who are in favor, those who wish to vote aye on the proposition, will raise their right hand.
Hands are going up all over the hall, and the tellers are moving about counting. A total of 166 votes will be cast. 84 are necessary to carry or defeat the resolution. And it seems now as if half the number of delegates here have their hands up, but it's impossible to tell exactly. However, it's going to be close. You can be sure of that. Very close. We'll know the result in a moment from the eye count. If it's 84 or over, the ayes will have it, and the Constitution will be ratified here in the Virginia Convention and will become the law of the land. The tellers have completed their count now and are moving up to report to the rostrum. They're at the rostrum. Mr. Pendleton is receiving their report, checking the totals, and we'll know in a moment. Mr. Pendleton.
The tellers report in favor of the resolution, 89 votes.
Central government. We're to have a president, a Congress, a federal judiciary, a national army under the Constitution. I have a copy here in my hand, and its preamble begins, "We, the people of the United States, in order..."
June 25th, 1788. Virginia ratifies the Constitution and government of, by, and for the people begins.
The ratification of the Constitution was another broadcast in the series You Are There, produced and directed by Robert Louis Cheon. The program was written by Michael Sklar. Thomas Chalmers played Patrick Henry, Richard Waring was James Madison, Eric Dressler played Governor Randolph, and the cast included Carl Swenson, Chester Stratton, Bernard Lenroe, Guy Sorel, and others. Footnote: the Virginia Convention debated and voted under the impression that it was the 9th necessary ratifying state. The 9th necessary state was actually New Hampshire. It had ratified 4 days earlier. Mr. Madison, Mr. Henry, and their colleagues did not know this because in those days news traveled slowly. Beginning next week, You Are There will be broadcast regularly over most of these stations at a new time, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for You Are There next week and thereafter. Next week,
November 7th, 1637, Puritan, New England. The trial of Anne Hutchinson. You are there.
This is CBS, where 99 million people gather every week, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
That's it for this week. We'll be back next week with more old-time radio. I hope you can join us then. Till then, this is Jim Dolan thanking you for listening. The RTC Weekly Download is produced by Chris Stone and Jim Dolan.